been recording.
Do we want to try to pick a date so we can get a room, or do we want to postpone till we know what we're going to do?
Sarah made a suggestion on the Thursday. Flip the 27th.
Yeah, should we just settle on Thursday evening and get a location?
Sure. I think that's.
So, well, this room's always free. The fairgrounds is quite cheap if it's available. The kitchen is a nice room, smaller. And then there's the Shane Center. Where do people like to have a meeting like this? And what are we thinking of a speaker? What topic? Let's start there. Or maybe the tree inventory is a really good starting point.
I
Does
think
anybody know him? Do you know him?
I know.
Kyle? He's a trip. I bet he gives a good talk.
A tree fell on both our cars and he helped get it off.
Can you guys hear me?
About it now. Wasn't funny at the
Hey,
time.
Joanne.
He's nice. He's good at removing trees without causing more damage. I'll say that. He's got impressive skills. Yeah. That's a scary
Can
moment.
you hear us, Joe?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, awesome.
welcome. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we got through a little bit of struggle, but I think we're there. So that's great.
Good.
Do you want me to go into the presentation, or how do you want to go, Laurel?
Yes, I think that would be perfect. You've been a good sport. This is your second try, at least. Go for it.
All right, awesome. Ooh, can I, Faith, is Faith in there? I need to share my screen. Is that possible?
Go for it.
Ah, perfect. Like they say, a picture is 1,000 words, and a PowerPoint is even more. So, all right, awesome. So, I just thank you for letting me present here, and I have a pretty fun topic I want to talk about, something that I'm very passionate about, something that I've put a lot of time into, and and I also want to make sure that there's a sort of communication going between the tree board, the city, and also our little project, Livingston Loves Trees. So I thought I'd start with just a little bit about me. Who's this guy from Buffalo, New York, who's trying to plant trees in Livingston, Montana. So at a high level, I used to live in Livingston. My parents moved there in the 70s. I'm a graduate of Park High, graduated in '88. I left, went to Boston, and then I lived in a bunch of towns on the East and West Coast, but now I live in just outside of Buffalo, New York. I have two children, one who's sophomore in college, and then my son who's a junior in high school. I plan to transition back to Livingston part-time. I think my partner would like to be there full-time, and I think she'd want to be there much earlier than I can. My children kind of keep me in Western New York for a while. I am and my mother had been a landlord also in Livingston for a long time, back to '93. And I have all of the properties that I've purchased, and then also I inherited her properties. So why Livingston Loves Trees, or why trees in Livingston for me personally? I mean, I'll be honest, I basically had a pandemic meltdown where I wanted to find something that was a little apolitical, and I wanted to do something that was I was hoping was a positive outcome in Livingston in particular. So I came up with trees. I've walked the streets of Livingston many days, and there's parts of it, especially around the boulevards, that I felt needed trees, and I kind of stocked the tree board sessions, and then I also kind of via the meeting minutes I found Rita and Susan Riegler. So Susan and I now head up Livingston Loves Trees. She's more forward facing because she's actually in Livingston, but we're partners in crime in that topic. So you know, what are we? Who are we? You know, grassroots community program that is basically trying to plant boulevard trees in Livingston. We started in 2021. For me, it was more like 2020. Our goal, and this is this is something I want to share with the tree board today, if you have not seen this, is that our goal is to plant 1,000 trees, boulevard trees mainly, over the next 10 years. And I'll in this presentation, I'll get into kind of what our strategy is around that and how we're doing that, how we want to do it. You know, I look for feedback as well, and if there's questions. Actually, I'm going to go for a little while, then I'll stop, and if there are questions, I'd like to answer them kind of mid presentation. So we'll just keep chugging through though. So this was last year. We planted 64. This is kind of our kickoff year. This is actually over on Clark Street. This is, you know, most of the tree board members, a couple friends, family friends of mine. We secured $20,000 in funding, and you know, this is one of the 64. We know that there's at least 800 based off of the 2014 census around empty spots. This is actually I Street, looking south towards the mountains. This whole street is a prime candidate of a street that doesn't even have a tree on either side. You can see our stake. This is the first tree we have, and we're hoping to get another one there this year. Okay, so this slide is a little, I don't really like it, but it's a little bit of a rinse and repeat. And I'll explain what that means. So Livingston Loves Trees, we secure funding early in the year. And this is the part that I could probably do a whole presentation on how we try to get money. This is a critical thing. Can I just give you 1 second? Hold on. Sorry about that. And so the funding, well, the first year it all came from individuals. And then the second year, we, with the help of Sarah Stans through PCEC, we were given a grant of $20,000 through the ARP money that came out of Livingston. So this cycle of where we get our money and how we get it, I think will evolve. But right now it's basically been either individual money or the ARP money. So in around the September timeframe, and I want to stress this, is that we have to contact our suppliers to, you know, say, okay, how many are you going to order? And because then they have to go out and secure trees, and it's not like we show up and plant a tree in May and like this hasn't already been kind of figured out. We coordinate with two different, well, we coordinated with one the first year, now two local Park County suppliers for trees. And we gave them sort of our list, and the list is always based off of the tree board's recommendations of trees. The next step is to go out and get the community to adopt a tree. And this is kind of a critical thing, mainly around watering, ownership. I mean, you can't just like show up in front of someone's house and say, okay, we're gonna plant a tree. Even the boulevard is this, you know, it's owned by the city, but it's really, you know, we get that piece of land is really kind of owned by the, you know, from in a certain sense, by the owner of the house that sits right in front of that. We want them to adopt this tree. And this is a critical thing, because they water it, they love it. It's part of their, you know, their home, right? So what's happening right now is the door hangers have gone out. I'll show you what those look like here in just a second. The door hangers, we sent out about 400 of them. PCEC paid for that. They paid for the actual hangers that go out. And then we had, you know, volunteers that went door to door and hung door hangers. Now, you know, obviously we don't hang them on doors that of trees that of homes that already have trees. You know, we're looking for those, you know, 1,000 spots that throughout the community needs a tree. And we've been very successful. I want to stress this, very successful in finding those community members that want to raise their hand and want to like, who want to adopt a tree and water it. Yeah, thank you. So the final order is like in flight right now. So we have via our two vendors. The one is at Shields Valley up out of Wilsaw, and then Tyson here. He is also our main landscape planter. We bought 70 from Shields Valley.
Tyler is here. Tyson.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that. So these two folks, they, checks are being cut, trees are being purchased, and, we haven't even got to May. We don't even know the full, we don't even know who our full 100 people are going to be, but we're going to own some trees in May. So there's a bit of risk here, but, it's just kind of the way it is. So this is kind of like where we're at right now. Then everyone's going to apply for a tree. Not everyone really fits what we would want to see in a site. Some of the sites are, there's concrete in the boulevard. There are corners, and we have to be back. We have to have certain egress away from the corners. Someone could live out in Shields Valley. I mean, they're not in the core part of Livingston where we're trying to build this canopy of houses or a canopy of trees in the central part of town. So some people we have to turn away. We try not to. We try to try to accommodate everyone, but we go out and we choose these folks, and then we will then after they've been selected, we'll do the 811 the locates. Locates basically, if you're not familiar with that, we just got to make sure that we're not on a power line, a sewer line, electric line, all of that sort of make sure the trees are put where they're supposed to be. Tom Shands did that last year for us for the 64. He just had surgery, so we're hoping he heals okay and he can still do that again for us next year. It's a bit of an onerous task because it and it's also kind of it's like our first time that these community members know that like we're a real group and like we're a person and there's a person there and they're going to talk through like where this tree is going to be, what kind of tree they're going to get, all of those in those rules around it. So it's a kind of the next step is kind of really important. And people have questions like what kind of tree am I going to get? All of those things kind of happen in March to the April timeframe. We can't do it now because it's still winter. It's hard to get people out there. We can't put the stakes in the ground. It's a little early actually. Okay, and then in May, second or third week of May, we will actually plant the trees with Tyson. He basically leads that up for us, and then America Corp. There's a lot of like work around that. You dig it out, you plant the tree in, you got stakes. You have to unshackle the tree if it's a bulb, if it's big enough. Most of our trees are 1.5 to 2 inches. We made a decision not to buy small trees. A joke I have is, when's the best time to plant a tree? And it was, 10 or 20 years ago. So we're trying to get ahead of that a little bit by buying these more mature trees. Unfortunately, that just means that they're more expensive because they had to sit somewhere and be, and grow. So like an oak burl tree of the size that we try to plant is a $400 tree. I mean, obviously we can buy cheap, like the maple trees are, $150 to $200, but they're more expensive, and that's where we kind of get in this. All right, I'm going to stop right there for just a second. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear some.
Yeah, I'll make a clarification actually. So that $20,000 actually was part of funding that came through the city of Livingston. The city was awarded ARPA funding, and the city commission actually set up a system for people to apply for funding. And then we had to vote to award the funds. So that 20,000 actually came from the city of Livingston, just to clarify.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, I
And we
voted
are-
on it. I know.
And,
Yeah.
and we are very grateful for it. Anything else? All right. So I won't take a ton of time, but we're somewhat strategic about where we go and drop the door hangers. The door hangers are our main caveat, are our main entrance into trying to get people to adopt our trees. This is up into like the Washington School District is up is here. This is really hard to see. I probably can't see it at all. Gallatin, this was the first time we ever put any door hangers on Gallatin. This is over in Winans, kind of my neck of the woods. We focused on 9th Street in Geyser, those main thoroughfares into the city, even though we've got a lot of adopters that are not on those streets, but those were the main ones we were trying to get. And then this is the southeast corner of town, and where we kind of focused our first year, and we re-hit that again. Pretty much, there's a lot of streets. Clark Street is one that's kind of near my heart, but there's plenty of streets that need trees. So the outcome of the door hangers. So this is kind of cool. These are examples, or an example of the door hanger that went out. Basically, it's a little bit of branding for PCEC, but it's also our link back into filling out the form. If you want to give money, there's a way to do that. It's basically the connection point back, and these door hangers probably pulled off the door. They go in someone's house. People fill it out. Some throw it away. We put out 400 of them. We probably got 60% uptick. I think that's pretty good for basically guerrilla marketing. Okay, so where they end up? Southeast section of town. This was we get a great uptick down there. This end of town, we didn't door hanger last year, but this year we did, and we got quite a big uptick around in this. Part where I'm kind of disappointed is that I'm going to point out is this circled section. This is like Chinook and across the tracks. There's really 3 here. There's three of these. I personally called 2 of them, and one of the other Livingston Love Trees volunteers knew the other person. And we put up a lot of door hangers in this section, and we really didn't get any uptick. So I don't know. I think we have a little bit of community reach there. I just want to kind of point that out, that we weren't that successful in that part of the rest of the town. We had really no problems. Okay, so here's our 10-year forecast around money. So year 1, here was the 65 trees. We spent around 20,000. Here's year 2. We have about 33.8 thousand. Between the 2 of those, you're up to 54,000 minus the 20 grand that we were awarded. We've fundraised around $34,000 for the effort. That is not easy. I can guarantee you that's not easy. It takes a lot of time. So every year that you see going out to add another 100 trees is a slog through fundraising, and we are hoping with PCEC's depth of grant writing that will enhance this, or we can partner with them for that. But this is our goal for the next 10 years. Cool. That's all I had. Any questions or feedback?
So Joe, this is Sarah Boyle. I have a couple of questions. I've noticed that your map really focuses on the south side of town, and a lot of the growth is on the north side of town. Is there any plans to really try to further the tree planting on the side of town that is very lacking in trees? Quite a few of us here on the tree board also live on that side of town.
Are you talking about like this area of town?
That area of town and both of those areas there that you're circling. Yep.
All the way.
Yeah.
The reclamation facility. too.
Yeah, all of that whole section.
There's actually a chunk of town that's not on your map that's actually in city limits.
Yep.
Where there's
Yeah,
at
and
least 100 houses.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. We actually have one little blue dot up here. I just couldn't get it to fit, so I chopped it off. But I'm well aware of Green Acres. So I guess our focus, and maybe I have driven this more than anyone, is that for a community of like 100 and some years old as Livingston, there's streets that have been just vacated from trees, and they've been here, and they've been, in my opinion, they're just sort of a neglect of any tree planting. I Street is a prime candidate. Clark Street in the southeast end of town is another candidate. I think we're behind, and the focus has been those parts of town that have been here forever and really has never gotten a tree in the first place. That's just being sort of honest and the focus. If we get in these other areas where they, you know, they find out via our social media posts or whatever, we will plant in those areas as well. They're just not, we just don't have people, we you know, we only have so many trees. There's 1,000+ locations to go, and we kind of had to make a decision where we would go.
So, to add to that, because I've been to all those meetings and listened to the conversation about that, the answer is yes. There's some issues that not all the neighborhoods on the north side have boulevards. So there's been a lot of conversation around, can we have people adopt trees to put on private property? And that's where I thought that
See, we have to leave here at 1, so
where this is an overlap between Livingston Loves Trees and
that question has been answered multiple times. There is still an easement that belongs to the city. It's exactly the same. It's just not defined by a sidewalk.
right. And so.
So that should not be a holdup, actually. That's all.
Well, and a lot of those newer neighborhoods in the north side actually have homeowner regulations that they have to have trees there.
And
so
many
this
of the
program,
developers are required to put in trees too. So
Absolutely,
the answer
yeah.
is complicated, but yes, there's a lot of focus
there's a
on
lot of need.
figuring out how to do the north side.
Yeah, and there's a lot of need on the north side, I would say as well.
Yeah.
So,
And very different technical requirements.
mhm.
And so that's the question. So Joe, this room, we have to end this meeting at 1. But one of
Okay.
the questions that's, well, Sarah, you said you had 2. What was the other?
Oh, it's leading into what you're saying as well, is that some of these trees need to be planted in specific sites where they're sheltered. We can't plant maples on the north side because they just won't make it, you know.
Mhm. So where's the technical expertise coming from so that this is a success? Because the success rate for trees in Livingston is very poor overall. And a lot of the streets that you're mentioning that appear to have never had trees, had them in the past, they died, and they're gone, and nobody wanted to replant them because it's so hard to get a tree to grow here. So those were the issues that we've been hearing coming up.
Yeah, and I guess I Street is probably the main candidate that I think of that is not an optimal place to plant a tree, because it's on this sloped section. It's very porous. There's a lot. It's basically a kind of a road that's been cut into a gravel pit. It's not the best location. So Clark Street though, they should grow. I don't think any difference between Clark and, let's say, 3rd Street. So, I'm somewhat surprised that some of these streets, and when you walk down 3rd Street, Yellowstone, I mean, where all of those ash trees are planted, I mean, there's a bigger problem there, right? You have ash trees, and they need to be diversified. We need to plant trees that are not ash, obviously, and we need to bring diversification to the types of trees that we plant in the community. But that section of town, Yellowstone, I mean, they have beautiful trees that are there. Just a little bit different problem is that they've just got the wrong species of tree. Not
Yeah.
wrong, just one that's
Yeah.
at risk. That's at risk.
Yeah, that's duly noted.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say we're out of time. There's another group that meets in here at 1 o'clock. Thank you for coming, and I think we'll just keep you posted on where we're at. There's potential funding coming to the city that, there may be more places for coordination here. I think it's a great start today, so thank you very much.
Yeah,
Anybody have questions or comments?
Awesome.
No.
Well, I appreciate any and all help we can get. My goal is to get as many trees planted regardless of where they're located at in the community that I love.
Okay,
So
sir. Well, thank
right.
you very much.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for your persistence.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.